All right, today we're going to talk about a game that is, well, it's a lot of things. It's unique, it's super ambitious, and honestly, it's really divisive. The game is Hell Is Us. And it's one of those projects that just makes you curious, you know? It's not afraid to be different. But the big question is, does being different make it a masterpiece, or does it just make it broken? Let's dive in and figure it out.
So let me just start with a quick question for you, because honestly, your answer is going to tell you everything you need to know about whether this game is for you. Are you really tired of games that hold your hand? You know, the ones that tell you exactly where to go, what to do, every single step of the way?
Well, if your answer is yes, then you're gonna want to hear this. Hell Is Us is the complete opposite of that. It literally just throws you into this super complex, hostile world with one simple, unspoken rule. Figure it out. I mean it. No map, no quest log, no little blinking icons on the screen. It's just you, whatever's in your head, and this world.
All right, so let's get into our first big point here. It's really important to understand this. This is not a case of lazy development or missing features. Oh no. Everything about this game is a bold, deliberate choice.
The entire game is built around this one core idea: zero handholding. Absolutely none. And what that does is it forces you, the player, to actually slow down. You have to read things, you have to listen to what people are saying, and you have to just look around and observe your surroundings to figure out what's next. And let's be real, in today's gaming world, that is a gutsy, courageous move.
But, and this is a big but, that bold choice, it is a massive double-edged sword. It creates this experience that just swings back and forth between these two extremes: pure, amazing discovery and pure, mind-numbing frustration.
So, just to be super clear about what we're talking about when we say what's missing, you've got no map at all. No quest markers pointing you in the right direction, no objective indicators, nothing. The game puts all its trust in you to piece everything together from the clues you find. It's a total break from how most modern games are designed.
And this setup creates these two incredibly strong, completely opposite feelings. Okay, so on one side, the reward is, it's huge. When you finally figure something out, when you connect those dots all on your own, wow, it's just this monumental sense of victory, a real dopamine hit. But the risk is just as huge. It is so easy to feel completely lost, totally aimless, and just incredibly frustrated. This is not a game for everybody, for sure.
Yeah, the entire game is basically betting on you loving that feeling, that aha moment when a clue finally clicks. It feels amazing precisely because the game didn't just give you the answer. It's a satisfaction that you have to genuinely earn.
Now, this whole less is more philosophy, it doesn't just stop with the gameplay. It goes right into the story, too. And, yep, you guessed it, this is another area where the game is kind of brilliant, but also kind of frustrating for some people.
Okay, the setup for the story is awesome. Seriously. You're thrown into this country that's being ripped apart by a civil war. On one side, you have the military, and on the other, you've got this group of religious fanatics. And in the middle of all that chaos, you're just trying to find answers about your own family. The whole world is just so intriguing.
But the way they tell this story is what's really key here. Its brilliance is that the story isn't really told to you at all. It's something you discover through the environment. You're piecing it together from documents you find, recordings you listen to, and it just sparks this massive sense of curiosity. So what's the catch? Well, it means there are no big, flashy, scripted cutscenes. If you're hoping for a cinematic, movie-like game, this ain't it. So this all leaves you with this really weird but fascinating feeling. You're in this incredibly rich, detailed world, but because so much is left to your imagination, you can't help but feel this sense of unexpressed potential. It's like you know there's this huge, amazing story there, but you can only see bits and pieces of it.
And that feeling of so close, but not quite, it also applies to the game's pacing. For all its amazing ideas, this is a long game, a really long game. And for a lot of people, it definitely overstays its welcome.
You can pretty much break the whole experience down into 3 acts. Act 1, the beginning. It's thrilling. You're learning the rules, figuring out this mysterious new world. Act 2, the middle. This is the sweet spot. You hit your groove, you get it, and you feel like a total pro. And then there's Act 3, the end. This is where things start to drag, and the slow descent into repetition and, honestly, fatigue kicks in.
And yeah, we're not talking about a quick weekend game here. This is a 25 to 40-hour commitment. And when you're looking at that kind of playtime, that final stretch can feel like a real slog.
And here's the root of the problem: the core gameplay loop.
The thing that feels so fresh and exciting at the beginning just doesn't have enough tricks up its sleeve to stay interesting for that long. If the game were shorter, it might have felt incredible, but as it stands, the gameplay just really struggles to carry that epic length runtime.
So what part of the gameplay is it that really starts to drag? Well, a huge piece of that puzzle is the combat. It works, it's functional, but it's another one of those things that's just a little too simple, a little too shallow. Okay, so here's the deal with the combat. On the plus side, it's super easy to get into, it's lightweight, you get the hang of it right away, dodge, parry, attack. You'll have it down in minutes. But that's also its biggest problem. There's no depth, no cool combos to learn, no real complexity. So it feels fine and breezy for the first few hours. Yeah, it starts to feel like a real chore by hour 25 or 30.
And this feeling of shallowness really comes down to a couple of key things. First off, the variety of enemies you fight is tiny, super limited. So once you find a strategy that works, you just do it again and again and again until you're sick of it. Then you've got this weird health regain system that sometimes actually rewards you for getting hit, which just kills the challenge. All the tension just poof, gone.
So, after all that, where do we land? Let's pull everything together and try to figure out if this bold, beautiful, but definitely flawed experiment is something you should actually play. Look, the ideal player for Hell Is Us is a very specific type of person. It's someone who's just completely done with games that are super guided. It's for the player who is actively looking for that realistic, immersive feeling of true discovery. And, this is key, they have to be willing to trade exciting, deep combat for pure atmosphere and mystery. If you just heard that and thought, hey, that's me, then you are probably going to adore this game.
At the end of the day, Hell Is Us is a game of trade-offs, plain and simple. For every single brilliant thing it does, there's a corresponding flaw. That amazing sense of discovery, it comes with the real risk of wandering around aimlessly. That deep, intriguing mystery, you get that instead of big cinematic moments. And that easy-to-learn combat, well, it becomes repetitive and shallow over time.
And that really just leaves us with one last thing to think about. We live in an age of safe sequels and games that play by the rules, right? So there's something really valuable about a game that just throws the rulebook out the window and tries something completely different, even if it doesn't stick the landing perfectly. So the question I'll leave you with is this. How much is that ambition worth? In a world of polished perfection, how much should we value a game that dares to be imperfect?